Hi everyone, my name is Dan, and this very important training video is brought to you by Mountain West Asset Protection Services. Today's video focuses on the following question: what are the Idaho Medicaid Eligibility Guidelines? Let's get started. Here's what you'll learn. You'll learn about medical eligibility, income eligibility, asset eligibility, 3 categories of assets, and then where to go for help. So before we jump into the guidelines, there still is this big myth out there. Myth number 1, you have to be poor to be eligible for Idaho Medicaid. Myth number 2, you have to go broke, or in other words, spend down all of your life savings to be eligible. Now, the fact remains that unless you totally comprehend how Idaho Medicaid works, you may needlessly lose your home and drain your savings. That's a fact. On the other hand, when you learn the Idaho Medicaid eligibility rules and apply them to your unique situation, you most likely will qualify for this long-term care benefit. So let's review the important eligibility rules to Medicaid so that you know exactly where you stand. First of all, anyone wanting to apply for Idaho Medicaid has to initially meet one of the following conditions: aged 65 or older, disabled, or blind. Now, if you meet at least one of the above conditions, then you pass the first test. However, passing the next steps is what trips most people up. Remember that Medicaid is a federal government program administered at the state level. Because of this, each state and even possibly each county can and will interpret the rules differently. As crazy as this sounds, each state does in fact have the power to interpret the federal rules and then create state rules of their own. So let's cover the basics at the federal level. The first consideration is based on marital status. In other words, how much income a person applying for Medicaid can have, and let's look at a single person case first. Now, the current maximum amount of monthly income for a single person is approximately $2,022 per month. If you earn more than that, then you're not qualified. If your income is above the maximum limit, don't worry, because there are approved strategies within the state of Idaho you can implement and still be eligible to receive Medicaid. Unfortunately, most families are not aware of these strategies and end up paying for long-term care out of their own pocket. Now, married couples are offered much more favorable terms. In a nutshell, the well spouse at home is entitled to a minimum monthly income between $1,750 and $2,739. This number is based on a Medicaid term called the Minimum Monthly Maintenance Needs Allowance. Now that we've covered the income rules, let's focus our attention on the asset rules for Idaho Medicaid eligibility. The first category is excluded assets. Now, these are the most common assets, and they include things like $2,000 in cash, the home, 1 car, prepaid burial funeral contracts, and a small amount of cash value life insurance. The second category is known as unavailable assets. Now, these are assets not legally accessible to you, like real estate that cannot be sold or an interest in someone else's estate. The final category is countable assets. These are assets that Medicaid will ask you to spend down on long-term care, like cash, CDs, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Now, in a single-person case, the maximum amount of assets you can have and still qualify for Idaho Medicaid is $2,000. In a marital case, the rules, of course, are much more favorable. The well spouse living at home in Idaho is entitled to 50% of all the assets, but only up to a maximum of $109,560. For example, if all assets are totaled up and the amount is $100,000, then the well spouse living at home will be entitled to keep $50,000. So as you can see, if you are single or married, you need to know the rules. However, what's more important after knowing the Medicaid eligibility rules is to learn how to actually use these strategies for qualifying, even if you have too much income or too many assets. Would you like to learn how to qualify for Idaho Medicaid? Well, then send for our free report called Medicaid Secrets Revealed. This 23-page report exposes the truth about how to qualify for nursing home benefits without spending down your life savings or subjecting your home to Idaho Medicaid recovery. Get your report now by going to Mountain West Asset Protection Services, that's mtwestassetprotectionservices.com, or give us a quick call at area code 208 429-1798. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you soon.